Stepmother Claire sorted her new Stepson Alex's shirt. She noticed the torn collar and frowned, her fingers tracing the ripped fabric thoughtfully. Claire went into the room, and by the loud knock on the door, Alex already knew there were questions for him. He barely had time to turn off the website showing a mature blonde who looked strikingly similar to his stepmother. Claire entered the room, her gaze immediately falling on Alex, who looked visibly flustered. Alex, by the way, was already 18, and in his first year at college, adjusting to the new responsibilities that came with adulthood. "Alex, explain what this is," she asked, pointing at the torn shirt, her voice a mixture of curiosity and mild irritation. "It was an accident," he muttered, his eyes shifting uncomfortably. After half an hour of questioning and staring, Claire pieced it together. She had thought Alex was happy at college, but apparently something wasn't right. The torn shirt said as much. Her husband, Steve, had just gotten a big project at work, and instead of a family vacation, he was buried in his office. This gave Claire plenty of free time, apart from household chores and her regular fitness routine. Now she had a lot to think about. She couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was troubling Alex, and she felt a need to help him. Claire decided to take a more active role in her stepson's upbringing. She spent the next couple of days observing him more closely, noticing the small changes in his behavior, the way he seemed distant, lost in thought, and even a little sad. She wanted to help him, but she knew she had to approach it delicately. There was a vulnerability to Alex that made her protective instincts kick in, and she found herself wanting to make sure he was okay. A couple of days later, she was getting ready to go to the gym. Standing in the hallway in front of the mirror, she admired her appearance. She was 38, but looked amazing, a beautiful, mature blonde, real confidence shining through. She took pride in her fitness routine and how it kept her looking youthful. Today, Claire wore a tight gray knitted dress with a slit on the side, almost up to her thong. She adjusted her hair, smiling at her reflection, knowing she looked good. Alex stepped out of his room and hesitated when he saw her. The dress fit her perfectly, and he couldn't take his eyes off her. "Well, how do you like me?" Claire turned to her stepson and smiled, her eyes sparkling with mischief. That was when Alex snapped out of his daze, stammering slightly. You look great," he managed to say, his eyes quickly averting as his cheeks flushed. "Again, you're in the clouds," she teased, before adding, "I'm off." With those words, she left the apartment, her heels clicking against the floor, the sound echoing through the hallway. Later at the gym, Claire decided it was time to address things directly with Alex. She came home and started to work in the kitchen, preparing an elaborate dinner. She wanted to create an atmosphere where Alex could open up to her. She carefully chopped vegetables, seasoned meat, and set the table with her finest dishes. Alex, as usual, was at the computer, his face illuminated by the screen's glow. About 15 minutes later, Claire called out, "Alex, darling, come here." Alex walked into the kitchen and marveled at how beautiful and appetizing everything looked. The dishes were meticulously arranged. The smell of roasted herbs filled the air, and Claire stood there, looking like a vision. "Claire, he started as she cut him off with a gentle smile. "Sit down, Alex, we need to talk." She poured a glass of wine, which made Alex's eyes widen. "And wine? For dinner?" he asked, his voice tinged with surprise, his brow furrowing slightly. "For appetite," Claire replied with a knowing smile, her eyes locking onto his. She handed him a glass and took one for herself, her fingers brushing against his for a moment longer than necessary. "Thank you. I won't refuse if you join me," he said, his voice softening as he looked at her, the warmth of her smile making him relax. They drank one bottle, then another, and soon Alex's gaze toward Claire became different, strangely intense, filled with something that went beyond admiration. She felt it too, but tried to steer the conversation in another direction, her heart racing in response to his lingering stares. "Listen, Alex, what happened at college? Did you have a fight?" she asked gently, her tone soft and inviting, hoping to give him the chance to open up. "Yeah, some guys keep bullying me even in front of girls. So I fought back, same old story," Alex confessed, his shoulders slumping slightly as he stared at the table, his fingers tracing the edge of his glass. "And what about girls? Have you had anyone special yet?" Claire prodded, her eyes searching his face for any sign of hope. Alex blushed, looking down at the floor. "Not yet." "I see. It must be hard," Claire said softly, her voice filled with empathy. "But I'm here for you, Alex. I want you to know that, no matter what." The young man sat there, his face red, either from the wine or from embarrassment. There was an awkward pause until Alex finally spoke. I don't know if I can stop looking at you, Claire. I like you. A lot. And I can't do anything about it, he said, his voice trembling slightly, his eyes locking with hers, the honesty in his gaze making Claire's breath hitch. His voice was so earnest that Claire felt her own cheeks grow warm. Her heart pounded as she realized the intensity of his feelings. She hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do, but the longing in his eyes pulled her in. When he leaned in and kissed her, she melted, the warmth of his lips sending a shiver down her spine. A pleasant shiver ran through her, as she realized how much she wanted this. Claire wasn't confused. She took the hand of the inexperienced young man and led him behind her, her mind swirling with emotion she hadn't felt in years. And that's how their affair began. Passion overtook them, leaving barely enough room in the apartment for anything else. Their moments together were intense, heated, and filled with unrestrained desire. Every time they were alone, the air between them seemed to spark with electricity, the tension impossible to ignore. They found themselves stealing glances, brushing against each other in passing, every touch lingering a little longer than the last, each moment adding fuel to the fire that was steadily consuming them. Claire had never imagined herself in this position, yet there she was, giving in to something she couldn't control. She found herself looking forward to the moments they could be alone, craving his touch, and the way he looked at her with such unfiltered admiration. It was intoxicating. The secrecy only added to the thrill, making every moment feel even more intense. She started wearing clothes she knew he liked, brushing against him accidentally, relishing the way his eyes followed her. Their affair quickly became the center of both their lives. Alex started skipping classes just to spend more time at home with her. He would wait impatiently for Claire to finish her household chores so they could be together. Claire found herself neglecting some of her chores, her mind consumed by thoughts of Alex. They would find secluded corners of the apartment to share hurried kisses, their passion never seeming to wane. Nights were the worst. The tension was unbearable, until they could finally slip into each other's arms, their shared desire making the world beyond their apartment fade away. Claire knew it was dangerous. She knew it couldn't last forever. But for now, she let herself live in the moment, relishing the feeling of being desired, of being needed in a way she hadn't felt in so long. It was as if she had found a part of herself that had been missing, and Alex had brought it back to life. She felt young again, her body responding to his touch with a fervor she had thought was long gone. For Alex, Claire was everything he had ever dreamed of. She was beautiful, confident, and caring. She listened to him, understood him, and made him feel like he mattered. She was the first woman who had ever made him feel this way, and he was hopelessly drawn to her. He didn't care about the consequences. He only knew that he wanted her, and he would do anything to keep what they had. The way she looked at him, the way she touched him, made him feel like he was the only person in the world who mattered. The apartment, once so spacious and lonely, now felt alive with the energy of their affair. The walls held their secrets, their whispered confessions, and their stolen moments of passion. It was a world that belonged only to them, a bubble that shut out the rest of the world, if only for a little while. They would spend hours talking, laughing, and loving, the rest of the world fading into insignificance. They created memories that only they could share, moments that were just theirs, hidden away from everyone else. Their relationship grew deeper with every passing day. Claire found herself caring for Alex in ways she hadn't anticipated. She would cook for him, listen to his problems, and help him navigate the complexities of adulthood. She became his confidant, his partner, and his lover, all rolled into one. The lines between right and wrong blurred as their connection deepened, and neither of them wanted to stop. Alex, too, was changing. He became more confident, more self-assured. Claire's love had transformed him, giving him a strength he hadn't known he possessed. He began to stand up for himself more, his demeanor shifting from shy and uncertain to someone who knew what he wanted. And what he wanted, more than anything, was Claire. Their passion was all-consuming, the kind of love that burned brightly, fiercely, with no regard for what lay ahead. The apartment that had once felt empty was now filled with laughter, with whispers, with moments of tenderness that neither of them had anticipated. And though they both knew the risks, though they both understood that this couldn't last forever, they couldn't bring themselves to stop. For now, they were content to live in the bubble they had created, to let themselves get lost in each other, even if only for a little while longer. And for Claire, who had spent so long feeling unappreciated and unseen, Alex was the one who made her feel alive again, who made her believe that maybe, just maybe, happiness could be found in the most unexpected places.